Hello and welcome to Mandibil. I have been trying to optimize the video quality a bit, and I hope that this is working, but I'm not completely sure. I'm I'm sort of a technical guy, but low level technical, in the sense that I hate doing technical shit. Though I can set myself to it if I want to. It's not like I'm you know ignorant or so, but I hate doing settings, and Streamlabs is very settings heavy, right? And you can wing something up and all of a sudden everything is blurred and chunky and whatever, right? And you have to go back into settings. Which one am I? You know the story, right? Okay. I just want the audio to be as clear as it can without sacrificing, video quality. And I don't want since this is desktop version of the software, there should be somewhat more power to ensure good quality, right? So actually, I don't want to spend time talking about this, but just so that we are on the same page regarding this, right? Okay. As I basically want to say, if this video and maybe the next few videos, I'm sort of screwing around with the quality here, it's because I'm trying to get the best, best of both worlds, right? I can't get the highest settings because my hardware is old. I have an NVIDIA graphics card. They are really very good at keeping old hardware still functioning. NVIDIA, right? If I had some lower budget graphics card, I might not be able to do. But then my sound card is maybe, and I don't even remember if there's a sound card on my graphics card. Maybe there is. I don't remember actually, right? But maybe the motherboard is a bit old, and the support has sort of dwindled, and I'm sort of pushing the boundaries with my desktop here because I really don't want to spend too much money on it, right? I'm like, if I want a desktop, I will buy a completely new one, right? So enough of that shit. I don't want to bore you, right? Let's get back into what is called Nathan Hawkins and absolute philosophy about truth, facts, and insistence within the idea of idealism. So he's, as far as I can see, he's talking about how to. It sounds to me like he's trying to, and I actually wanted to add another, and sorry about that. Let me see, I completely forgot, but I had to add a media file to the picture, and that was my notes. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can quickly zip. And no, it's not a media file. It's something called something else. It's called color browser text. Okay, maybe I'll keep that for the next one. But I had a note list of terms that had been used in his presentation so far, right? The terms used. I like to keep a track on that because it does tell me a bit about the rigidity of the particular philosophy I am dealing with, right? So how do I put? I really actually want to put it on the screen. I just, because I'm setting this up. There's essentials or general sources. How do I put this window in? Screen capture. Is it a window capture? Let me see if it. Window. Yes, there it is. There it is. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can actually make this visible for you. Right. Then I'll move. Hang on. I should have done this, you know. Earlier. So sorry about this. I should have set this up before I started the recording, right? Obviously. So sorry about that. But you know, this is how things go, right? Let me see if I can. Yeah, that looks decently good. Something like this. Looks good. Okay, let's see if it works. And I'll have to have...
But I can promise to do my best to make...
Sorry about this. I'll have to close some windows here and... This one, I'll move this one over here, here, here. So let's
make it as...
Sorry about that. I'm sort of rewinding a few seconds so we can sort of recapture where we left off last time, right? So
understandable as possible, and I'm going to go step by step as clearly and carefully as I can.
Yes, and this way he does this. This is sort of implicitly saying, I am telling you how it is. This is not about you being scrutinizing what I'm saying. For you little peasants out there, I have been reading philosophy on the university, right? I'm a doctor. It's not about thinking for yourself and scrutinizing what I'm trying to say. No, I'll say it slowly. So you stupid little peasants out there, yeah, grab some coffee and get some energy and, prepare yourself for big think, right? It's kind of patronizing in a feminine, passive-aggressive manner, right?
I hope it will be quite a ride, so grab your brains, pour yourself a strong coffee, and let's go. I'm going to start with one of the earliest definitions of truth made by Aristotle.
Okay, so this is, if we just pretend there wasn't any introduction, right? An introduction in this fashion works as a preparation for you to accept that he can just start with some definition. I'm going to grab a 2,000-year-old, 2,400-year-old definition. I mean, you don't argue in philosophy like that, in my opinion. You can't just grab somebody said 2,000 years ago, or yesterday for that matter, or now, right? It's polemic. I'm not sure if polemic is the right word, but it's academic in nature. I just like to sit here and discuss words. Where is your foundation? Where is your ontology? Your video presenting your ontology, and I'll have to admit I haven't checked all his videos, right? But I could do that until next time, maybe, right? So maybe it's there, right? But where is your reduction base? What is that foundational thing, that term that describes an experience, which is the foundation you work from to describe everything else? It has to be somewhere. Otherwise, you're basically just juggling terms around, right? There's no way around it. Otherwise, you're taking some proto-understanding of ontology and definitions for granted, right? Why do we need to talk about truth? What's the necessity of truth, right? You're implying something without explaining. As if it's given. Of course, the first thing you start to talk about when you make a case for idealism is truth. Why? It's not obvious to me. Far from it, I would say. Because personally, and this is my thinking, right? Personally, I think that what you need to do is start with a reduction base. There might be even something deeper than that that I haven't identified or thought my way to, right? But at this point, I'm saying you reduce down to what is the earliest constituent of your experience. If there are interconnectivity or interdependencies between various aspects of your experience, that first thing is your reduction base, right? And then you describe everything else in your experience from that experience exactly because you had to reduce. And exactly because there are dependencies, right? So you have to describe the rest of the dependencies in your experience. At what point do you get to truth? Well, I would say reduction, then ontology, then maybe fabulate about a metaphysics, which is something, an ontology beyond what you experience, which is halfway crazy, right? Then the next step would be, what does it mean to know? And why do I need knowing? Is there a particular aspect of my experience I need to classify as knowledge for some kind of reason that justifies why I need to talk about knowledge, right? Sort of meta epistemology. And then epistemology to get to a definition of knowledge. Because why would I be concerned about truth without having knowledge? There seems to be a dependency between these two categories of philosophical ideas. Don't I need knowledge in order to say that which I know is that which can be true? Can something that I don't know be true? Or there's something that I know, can that be false? And that's why it's because, see, it seems all these categories are just being lumped into one big fucking academic pile. That people are sort of starting to cherry pick. Now I'm going to start there. And I'm going to throw words at you. And therefore I have built a case for idealism, whatever, right? Do the foundational work, man, right? So I know where you're coming from. So I understand how you build your way to, why do I need truth, right? I would say that truth is something that is even beyond epistemology. When you have an idea of what it means to know, then you can start to propose that. But if I, as I said in the prior video, if I'm sitting alone on an island, why would I need to propose anything? I can sit there, there's no difference. Tom Hanks in Castaway on a deserted island. If he's mute, doesn't make any difference to his life, right? If he lost his voice falling with the airplane there for some reason, it would be maybe a slightly different movie because you need some language in order to express various emotions and so on to make it a functional movie. But from a survival point of view, he doesn't need to say anything. It would be exactly the same. So why would I need to propose something? It's when Tom Cruise falls down with his aeroplane. And then all of a sudden there are two people that need to be in agreement, in concordance with that reality they are supposedly thinking of. I could express that better, right? But that's when you need propositions. And what you would actually agree on, or the agreement, would be some kind of objectivity. If I say that's an elephant, and Tom Cruise says yes, or Tom Hanks says that's an elephant, Tom Cruise says yes, that's an elephant. They have objectivity because they're both agreeing on that particular cognitive object, right? Both subjects agree upon, two subjects agree upon one object. That would be objectivity. And it's true to him, supposedly, right? And true to the other Tom, right? They can't know each other's truths because they don't have each of the other's experience, qua the problem of other minds. But at least they have their own truth, right? They know if they experience elephant, know if they experience elephant. They need knowledge of elephant, right? So truth is way, way, way down the line. Idealism has nothing to do with truth. Actually, in my opinion, idealism is basically a metaphysics. Because nobody disagrees about elephant, right? You don't have a video that's called The Case for Elephant, right? Nobody would make that video because that's what we can agree upon, right? But is there something beyond elephant or something that elephant is representing? Well, that's another story, right? And I also think that Aristotle has sort of been misinterpreted, that what we understand as metaphysics is not what Aristotle meant as metaphysics, right? I think that Aristotle meant if you're doing natural sciences, right? When he's looking at all sorts of fungus and animals and biology and categorizing and everything, he's just doing the scientific aspect of it, right? The observation, the empiricism of it. But what does it mean that it's an animal? What does it mean that it's biology? What does it mean that what I'm doing science, whatever, right? If I say it's true that's an elephant, what does it mean it's true, right? That's what's behind. That's what has to be settled in a philosophical manner. In order to do that, everyday observation rigidly, correctly, you could say, or avoiding, thinking that you're doing something else than you're actually doing. That's what's before physics, which is what meta means, right? But I think that the modern way of understanding what metaphysics is the recognition that your experience, if you operate with an external world, the idea of an external world, because you can't get to an external world, in my opinion. You can have an idea of an external world, but that doesn't create in itself an external world. An idea is not an external, just like a photograph of the moon is not the moon, right? An idea of an external world is not an external world in itself. If there is an in itself, right? But the discussion about that particular external world and how it is composed, that would be metaphysics. And idealism, at least idealism is very concerned about describing that external world and how to deal with it, right? How to understand it. But physicalism is also a metaphysics that also attempts or claims to describe an external world. It just says what I'm experiencing is the external world. That's stupid. That's why materialism is crazy, right? And I think he understands that. But it's just you can very, very, very quickly get lost in words and terms and shit like that. Shit like that. When we're dealing with this. So I like things to be structured so that I am very careful. I use the same terms for the same aspects of my philosophy throughout my thinking, right? And my presentation of it in order to, hopefully inspire somebody else to, first of all, do their own philosophy and maybe this guy is onto something, right? Maybe he is good at thinking. And maybe I can be inspired to do my own thinking. But I would encourage you to not just eat raw what I'm saying. I want there to be as many different philosophies potentially as there are human beings. Right? This sort of, there is one way to do it, is extremely dangerous, right? There should be as many ways to do it as there are human beings, and even more if you're changing your philosophy, right? Don't be dependent or... what would that be? Don't be your own patron or, I came up with this philosophy. It's my philosophy. So now I'm wedded to it because it's mine and I'm brilliant. It doesn't have to change because I'm so smart, right? No, what you have to be most scrutinizing about is your own philosophy. Otherwise you don't have your own philosophy, right? You're just wedded to an idea of your own philosophy. Okay, enough of that.
Who says, to say of what is that it is not, or of what is not that it is false. While to say of what is that it is, and of what is not that it is not, is true. Here, Aristotle gets at the intuitive idea.
It's hard not to understand. I mean, if I'm, trying to think of a way that you could misinterpret or mistranslate Old Greek, a text that didn't say anything about if you say let me back up a bit, to say of what, right? While to say of what is that it is. To say, you can't misinterpret something that doesn't say anything about saying and translate that to saying. So it seems out of the gate that Aristotle actually talked about propositions here. I would be hard pressed to think of a way where he didn't talk of propositions, but you can interpret what he says as something that sounds like a proposition. So I would say, judging from this, that Aristotle is a materialist. He thinks that there is a way that things are that is not changing even if you're not experiencing anything. Right? If you look at a tree or that elephant, you turn around and look again. You turn over here, don't experience elephant, and then you turn around and there's the elephant, right? It's like the elephant must have been there while I was not looking. Well, you don't know that because you didn't experience elephants while you were looking that way, right? That would be my stance. Don't claim, don't extend your empiricism to fill out the holes, right? Just be honest about your experience. If you experience X and X is that which can be knowledge, then you know X, right? If you're not experiencing X, you don't know X. I am experiencing elephant. I have classified elephant as that which can be knowledge. Then I know elephant. Now I'm looking over here. I don't experience X, right? I don't know elephant. If somebody says that's an elephant, right? I'm looking over there. There's no elephant. Well, I don't know elephant. So to me, the proposition is false, right? It's very simple. People just don't want to go there because it rubs against common understanding of what you are allowed to do within a sort of a scientific realm and so on, where you're allowed to fill out the holes and so on, right? But Aristotle also points to what I'm actually trying to say. If I look over here and I don't experience elephant, I should say elephant is false. Or I say, I don't know. If I can't get to that particular direction that somebody else is pointing with their proposition, I would actually have to say, I don't know. Because I can't get to the point where I can justify saying that that proposition is true. And since I can't do it, I can't say it's false either, right? So there's sort of a gray area where, okay, you can make the proposition, I can listen to the proposition, but I can't get to the point where I have a potential cognition where I can say it's true or false. Because I can't access that particular that area of experience, maybe, let's say, right? But this is not idealism. Idealism is foundational understanding of what there is, right? You don't need truth. You don't need cognitions. Cognitions are an aspect of that which you call idealism. So you can't use that which is... It's like standing in your bucket and lifting yourself up, right? You need an understanding called idealism in order to get to truth and facts and maybe existence. But these are big terms, right? What does it mean that they exist? Well, that's a bit further down the line from idealism in my best estimation, right? So if you're saying that now I'm going to talk about truth and facts and existence in order to justify something I needed to justify before I could get to truth and facts and existence, then you are making a circular statement, right? That's why you need the reduction to get down to the foundations and start there and work your way up through everything that are dependent on that base, right? You can't just go down the road and say, now I'm going to build the road I needed to get down off to get to the point where I need to think about how to get to the road, right? It's maybe that sounds a little convoluted, but it's like saying, okay, I'm standing here, I need to build a road. Okay, let me go down the road to that point and discuss with myself what I need to do to build that road. But you can't. You need to build a fucking road to get down to that point, to think about that particular point, to get back to the point where we need to start to build the road, right? You can't do that. Excuse me.
Not is true. Here, Aristotle gets at the intuitive idea that what is true or false are the things we say, and that what makes the things we say true or false are how things are. This is a pretty good start, but let's try to get a little more precise than that. In this quote, we get an indication of two basic questions we must answer when we're considering the nature of truth. Number one, what are the truth bearers?
Well, when we consider the nature of truth, but I don't want to be too bogged down in the terms here, because what the nature of, right, is more like, what the hell do I actually mean when I talk about truth? That's more like what I think he's going for here, right? And then he sort of complicated, bringing in new ideas like truth bearers. What the hell is that? Somebody carrying around the truth, right? No, but it's this what. As soon as it starts to get interesting with these academics, then they blow everything out of the water, bringing in 3 or 4 new undisclosed ideas to explain that old idea, right? And there it compounds and compounds into something that is completely incomprehensible, usually, right?
In other words, what are the things that can be true?
Okay, I need to mention or truth bearers.
True or false. Number two, what are the truth things that can be one? What are the truth bearers? In other words, what are the things that can be true or false? Number
God damn it.
Be a constituent in a I'm going to start with one of the earliest definitions of truth. Not of what is false are the things we say. So the intuitive, one pretty good start indication of number one, what are the truth bearers? In other words, what are the things that can be true or false?
What are the things that can be true or false? Now we are referring to a thing here, right? That was also a thing up here. And I don't recall exactly the context of which earlier that he used this term thing. But this is where it starts to get complicated now, right? Where it seems the conflating the use of terms, right? What are the things? Well, is my stomach ache, is that a thing? But can my stomach ache be true if stomach ache, is that a thing? What are the things that can be true, right? And he used the term thing very early on in connection with facts and things in the world. I actually said he think things in the world. My stomach ache, is that a thing? It's just the lines are being blurred, right? It's very common, this. It's sort of this kind of midstream kind of philosophy. I'm jumping down in the river here and talking about all the fishes down in this particular area and the rocks at the bottom, and the water is sort of brownish over here. And then, hey, done philosophy. Right?
Number two, what are the truth makers? In other words,
Then we have truth makers. Okay, so truth is, it's just trying to avoid a definition of what it means to be true. It's just, okay, I'm not going to define what it means to be true and why I need it. I'm just going to, there must be somebody who's carrying around the truth, right? And there must be somebody talking about those who make this true. Those who make the propositions or whatever, right? Something like that. It's just, it's the usual academic, polemicness, right?
What are the things that determine the truth or falsity of the truth bearer?
What or who determines truth or falsity? Now it's not false, but falsity. What's the difference between false and falsity? Because that's an appeal to propositions and lying, in my opinion. It's a falsity if you have just stated this, that, and the other. He's avoiding actual direct experience and talking about that as something that can be true, right? Or the use of the direct experience as some kind of comparison that determines truth or false, right? A falsity is more like, I remember somebody saying something that was a falsity. You're not experiencing a falsity, are you? That's a tree out there that I think it's a falsity. No, this is more like, I read in a book, I have later found out, I don't think that was true. I think it's a falsity. Right?
Now, to understand truth in terms of truth bearers and truth makers.
Yeah, and you just bring that in out of nowhere, right? I am the little boy saying the emperor has no clothes, right? I'm just saying, but why are we talking about these carriers and bearers and makers? Why do you need to do that? You're bringing in something that is bearing the truth, and you're bringing in something that is undisclosed that is making truth. Why? I don't like that kind of philosophy where you just, hang on a second, I'm going to bring in these two things here and I'm going to carry on now, right? I don't know if I can make to me it's like something like, okay, me and my, let's say girlfriend, right? We had a trip to Paris and we have planned it and we're going from A to B, from whatever, Copenhagen to Paris, right? And we're going into the car and, 50 kilometers down the road, she stops the car and say, hey, these two people over here, I put them in the back seat and say, there's a truth bearer and a truth maker. We need them to go to Paris. I'm like, what? Who the hell are they? Right? It's like, don't bring in shit without justification, man, right?
Is to naturally adopt a certain theory about truth.
A certain theory? Now it's bringing in certainty. That is obviously epistemology, right? I think I actually need to bring it up here. And you can have a theory of truth. No, you cannot have a theory of truth. You cannot have a theory of philosophy, right? It's stupid, man. You can have a theory of gravity, for instance, or a theory of metabolism, or a theory of atoms, right? But you can't have a theory of truth. Because you need truth in order to establish theories, man. Theories are science. Theory has nothing to do in philosophy. You don't know what you're doing, mate, right? You need to get back to the drawing board with this one, right? A theory of truth is, to me, the same as saying, I don't know what I'm doing, right?
This is a theory that says that truth is a matter of a relationship between two kinds of things. In this case, it's
two kinds of things. Hang on.
Is a matter of a relationship about truth. This is a theory that says that truth is a matter of a relationship between two kinds of things.
Truth. Theory 1. Let's see. Theory 1. Truth equals relationship between two kinds of things.
In this case, it's a relationship between truth bearers and truth makers. Theories of this sort are called
correspondence, yeah. Correspondence. Correspondence theory, right?
Correspondence theories.
Yeah, but it's not a theory. It's stupid to use the term theory about philosophy. Philosophy is meta-science in a way, right? Philosophy is all that thinking you need to do to settle all of the toolbox you're using to go about your everyday life, right? All the thinking of the understanding of your experience and so on. And how you communicate and understand terms and right? The problem is for most people is there are a million people speaking a certain term of language, using terms in a particular way. I can't change their way of thinking, so I have to adapt to what I'm being told they're using. But that's not philosophy. That's appealing to authority, right? You have to create basically your own language. I mean, I don't want to create, Tolkien's Middle-earth or something like that. But you need the language you're using if you want to communicate and adjust the terminology so it's correct according to your standard if you want to communicate with somebody else, right? What he's doing, he's grabbing something he's being told by a professor somewhere, right? I have heard there's the theory of correspondence, so I have to deal with that because professor, right? No. Yes, I see the point in not creating your own language to try to extend your philosophy, because nobody's probably going to understand that if you're saying, and then they say, what the fuck is that, right? Right? So you have to adapt some terms if you want to communicate, just like I'm trying to communicate and using terms. But that's why the reduction is so incredibly important, because that's where your philosophy starts. And you are adding terms and definition to it, so that you have, this is my fucking philosophy, I'm using these terms for this, right? You don't go to university and let them tell you there is something called correspondence theory of truth. Now think about it, right? That shouldn't be how you do it, right? You have to do everything yourself. And if you don't end up with something called correspondence theory of truth, well, so be it, right?
And they are the most popular and intuitive of the truth theories philosophers discuss.
No, if they're really philosophers, they don't discuss theories, right? You don't have a fucking theory of truth, man, right? You have theories of gravity, or theories about atoms, a theory about mass, maybe, or something like, or mass is not. You could have a theory of mass. Maybe it's a definition, but a theory of matter, for instance, right? That you can have a theory of, but that's based on observations of what is fucking true. Empiricism is observing what you consider true. You experience the elephant and it's tipping over because of gravity or whatever, right? But you need the true elephant, and you need a true earth, and you need a true wind, and you need a true atmosphere, and true, right? So, you need truth in order to have a theory. You create a theory based on those truths, a theory of gravity. You don't then create a theory of truth in order to create a theory of gravity, right? You can have a theory of a theory.
Correspondence theories say that truth bearers are true when they correspond to a truth maker, and truth bearers are false when they don't correspond to one. To interpret Aristotle's rough theory in terms of a correspondence theory of truth, it would claim that what we say is true when it corresponds to how things are, and what we say is false when it doesn't correspond to how things are. So let's go with a correspondence theory for now and start by asking what the truth bearers might be. We'll get onto the truth maker.
But you just brought it in. You just brought it in out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, okay, Aristotle, but it's sort of this midstream kind of philosophy. Oh, somebody's talking about Aristotle said this. And somebody else said truth bearers and correspondence and there. What might it be? What might it be, right? Interesting, right? What might it be? What is your foundational philosophy? What is your reduction base? Where are you starting all this? How did you get to the idea of truth and facts and existence and correspondence and so on, right? You're just carrying over something you heard from somebody else, or what? Have your head filled with all sorts of disconnected philosophies, and I have to juggle all this because I have to be an academic, right? If you are not on top of what you mean by true, how can you live your fucking life? So this is academic mumbo jumbo. I'm sitting here and sounding that I'm very wise, but I'm in my everyday, I'm going around using something as true that is sort of undisclosed in this discussion. It may come down the line later here, right? So we are not done with this, far from it yet, right? But when you go to your refrigerator, right? Don't you need some kind of truth there? If you don't need truth in order to work your way around your refrigerator, why the hell do I need truth? Because that's where my food is, right? I need to know truth. It must be, I mean, if I die, if I can find my way around my refrigerator, and truth is very important for the whole foundations here, then you must be using truth when you're finding your way around your refrigerator, right? So why do we need to sit here and do this? Just go to your refrigerator and point and say, that is true, and that is true. Right?
Because in a bit. Whatever truth bearers are, they need to fulfill two roles. First, they need to be the things we believe, because we can believe true things and false things.
No, oh my God. So now we go to justify true belief, right? You have lost me, right? You have lost me now, right? There are too many variables in this. We have been dealing with facts, with things, with world, with mind, reality, existence, truth, thoughts, certainty, and theories, right? And then truth bearers and truth makers that are apparently some kind of thing. What are the things that can be true? But can a truth maker then also be true or false before they make a truth or falsity? It gets so convoluted now that this is academic mumbo jumbo bullshit, right?
So they must be the contents of beliefs.
Yeah, I need to add then belief, right?
Secondly,
belief and things we believe. So now, things that can be true or false, we can believe in things, and those things can be true or false. But the world was composed of things, so the world can be composed of false things, right? All your terms are now turning around and biting themselves in the ass, right? You're creating all sorts of little circular arguments here by using terms incorrectly, or without care for conflating and what's it called? I've always forget this conflating, and if you're using the same term for many things, or you using many terms for the same thing, right?
they need to be the things we say, because we can say true things and we can say false things.
So now that which you say can be a false thing. How can that be? How can that which you say be a thing? Is that a thing? If I say what, I can't even think of something, right? I can't even think of something. I can't even think of something. You can say a true thing. If I say that's an elephant, is that which I'm saying a true thing, or that which my proposition refers to is the thing? What is a thing? This is also undisclosed, what you mean by thing. That's why we need this foundational philosophy, because you're taking shit for granted, right? So if you can take things for granted, why can't you take all of this for granted? Why are you taking some shit for granted and then using that granted shit to justify something else that needs to be justified using those things you take for granted? Oh.
The popular option these days is to say that truth bearers are propositions. But what are propositions?
Let's say propositions here.
If you think about propositions as things you say, it's quite natural to think of them as sentences. In that case, truth bearers would be pieces of language. They would be things you can write down on a piece of paper, or things you can say out loud. In which case, the truth bearers would be things in the world. They would be sequences of symbols or sounds carried in the air. But one problem with the idea of sentences being truth bearers is that sentences don't seem to be the right kind of entity for being true or false. Other kinds of objects in the world, like a leaf, a rock, or...
No, but it was a correspondence. You can't... The truth doesn't move around. Truth bearers is a very weird concept in this. I don't like use the term concept, but it's a very weird term to use. Bearer, it's like it moves around. Oh, look, truth arrived. Something carried truth to me, right? Something carried it. It's not the proposition that inflicts truth on you. The proposition has a content, as you say, a sentence. If I say that's an elephant, it's not the proposition that inflicts truth on you. The proposition is there for you to compare the cognition part, in my opinion, the cognition part, which is the elephant, the thing, right? You compare the thing aspect of the proposition with the thing content of your experience in that particular area that is pointed to using the proposition. and maybe pointing with a finger, right? It's like, that's an elephant. Well, the elephant over there or over there. What do you mean? Therefore, you have to point, right? In space, so to say. So it's the comparison, the correspondence, not between your idea and another idea in a materialist manner, but between the content of the proposition and your experience, right? You are receiving, you have an experience, so to say. Then you're receiving a proposition. Okay, now you have the experience and the proposition. Now you look at the experience and the proposition and compare them. Elephant, elephant, right place, true, right? True is something you deduce from the comparison. The truth doesn't arrive at you, right? That's a problematic way of understanding truth, in my opinion.
The Eiffel Tower just seemed to...
Interesting. The Eiffel Tower I used a lot of times with my beaver and gravity and so on, right?
be the wrong sort of entity to be true or false. We can sensibly ask whether they exist, but not sensibly ask whether they are true. Similarly, if a sentence is a sequence of symbols or a sound carried on the air, it seems more appropriate to ask whether it exists than whether it is true. And also, is what we believe a sentence? It doesn't seem to be. It's not the sentence that we believe, but what the sentence means. And if truth was something a sentence could have independently of its meaning, that truth would have to be based solely on the words the sentence contained.
Yeah, but it's misgiven to think that a sentence can carry truth. It's like saying, I have truth over... Somebody created the sentence. Sentences don't flow around somewhere independent of human beings, right? Or of some kind of being producing that kind of sentence you're referring to. So it's like, I can make a sentence and truth travels through the air to your mind, right? Now, that is problematic. That is an appeal to authority, right? And some weird way that carried through the waves. Truth is traveling, right? Bullshit.
But that doesn't seem to be the case, especially when you think about a sentence that can have different meanings. For example, in the US, the word pants refers to what we in the UK call trousers.
No, but
and what we in the UK call pants.
No, come on, man, right? You have to point to an experience, man. So now it's like, the different definitions are on the other side of the pond and so on. But it doesn't matter what term you're using. If you haven't... People in the US are not confused about pants. And people in the UK are not confused about pants, right? Or trousers. It's about an agreement of... This is the sound we use for that object over there, right? It's not like, okay, it has to be universal if you say pants. Everybody has to understand the same way, otherwise correspondence theory of truth is... And come on, man. Come on, man, right?
Refers to what those in the US...
That's why I think, I'm just thinking out loud, that's why you need the idea of objectivity and what you mean by it, right? That's where truth come in. It comes in. If you say, that's an elephant, and you don't understand the term elephant, it doesn't mean there's no elephant. It just means you don't understand the proposition, right? You have to agree upon what terms you're using. I understand where it's going. I understand that. But you can't use this as a deconstruction of correspondence, right? Not this actual argument, I think, right?
US call underwear. But whether the sentence Ryan Gosling likes to wear pink pants in public is true or not will depend not merely on the sentence itself, but on what that sentence means. Probably. So if propositions are to be truth bearers, they don't seem to be sentences themselves, but the meanings of our sentences.
Okay, so we go into propositions now, right? Now this is a minefield. I don't think anybody has to the best of my understanding so far, it's very likely that this guy doesn't have a grasp of what is actually meant by a proposition. But let's see, right? I don't want to poison the well, right? Okay, just, we are 6 minutes into this, and look at all the terms that are still mostly undefined, right? You can't do a midstream philosophy like this, right? Come on, man, right? Facts, things, world, mind, reality, existence, truth, thoughts, certainty, and theories, belief, and saying. And then combining sort of facts, truth, thoughts. A truth bearer is somebody apparently carrying true thoughts and then spouting it out as a propositional sentence. And that's a thing that can be true. So now a sentence becomes a thing that can be true. But what about the world of things? It rubs against, the terms used rubs against each other now, right? And when it's so convoluted and complex as it already is now, you have lost me. I have to classify this as bullshit, right? It might not be, at the end of the day, but I can't spend my hard-earned life trying to get on top of this, because you should have started down here with foundational philosophy and then worked your way up there. So, okay, now I'm at chapter 19. Now we are going to deal with truth and facts and so on, right? I needed all the 18 other chapters to get there, right? But you say, no, I'm jumping into chapter 19, ding, and saying truth and facts and world and mind and reality and existence. And I don't need to define them. I can't do that. Sorry, mate, right? Okay, see you in the next one.